This next instructional video is for performing an elbow x-ray. Once again, we'll be doing an AP and a lateral projection for this. It's very similar to the forearm, but somewhat different, so we'll go over both projections. They'll both be done at 70 kVp, just like your forearm. So luckily, my patient's already been shielded. But we would do that first, and now we will move on and find out which elbow hurts.
This one.
Oh, you're right one. Okay. So for this exam, I don't need quite as large of an IR. I'm going to use my 10 by 12. And I'm putting this little mark up here on top where I want the top of my image to be, which is right up at her humerus. So we'll start with the AP projection. Again, I'm going to try to get her shoulder nice and low for me so that I've got her line, the line of her arm very, very straight here and parallel to the IR. Then I'm going to bring my light over. Where I'm going to center is just proximal, which means towards her body, just proximal to the elbow crease. You can line up right on the elbow crease, but I'll tell you from experience that if you go just a little bit north of the elbow crease, you'll be centered a little bit better. We'll put it there, and then we're going to collimate in nice and tight. But we want to make sure we leave about 3 inches in either direction from that elbow crease. But from side to side, we want to make sure we get nice and close. Just leaving enough room here so that I can get my marker sneaked in on the lateral side. All right. And we'll be using 70 kVp for this one. And then we'll move on and do the lateral. Again, for this one, I'm going to try to keep her shoulder nice and low, but I'm going to bend her arm at that same 90-degree angle that we bent her arm for the forearm projection. This time, I'm just going to go dead center on that elbow. I'm looking between the tip of her elbow and the inside crease and going center there. And I'm looking from the lateral aspect here and into her forearm. I want this to be equidistant as well, just centering right over her elbow here. I'm going to put my marker right down here where I have room, making sure I'm not in the shadow of the elbow. And again, this time, as I'm looking at her forearm, I can see that her hand is sloping down onto the table and her elbow is slightly elevated. I want to make sure that her forearm is parallel with my table, so I'm going to use a sponge. I'm going to come under here and I'm going to rest her hand just like that to make sure now I can see that her forearm is a nice straight line parallel with the exam table. Again, I just want to make sure that forearm is nice and straight. I keep her thumb back just slightly, and I'll expose that at 70 kVp, and those are my 2 elbow projections.